Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and this is Tao of the Day. I'm not going to yell and scream and do all the things that, I'm not going to bring anger. I'm not going to tell people you're wrong or anything like that. That's not what the Tao does. I'm just going to be here and quietly go about my business, and I'm going to read. Parts of the Tao Te Ching. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to choose, excuse me, I am drinking my kombucha for the morning. Once again, excuse me. I want to be able to present the Tao Te Ching, my translation of the Tao Te Ching as it is currently, with the notes today. I was with someone. Picked a number yesterday with me, just privately, not here on Wisdom, and we went through the notes, and it was good. I think if I wanted to extend these, I can go through the notes as well with you, if you'd like. Otherwise, these are just my notes that I wrote, and we'll be coming out with an app, and those notes will be part of that, and you'd be able to go from the text to the notes to audio, and maybe to an image, audio of me working through this chapter, or maybe with my translation or another, so that you can see how it works, where the rubber meets the road, because that's a big deal. Trying to understand the difference between what it's saying and how it relates to you, right? Like, because it may say something about death, but it might not be, the mortal death that we're talking about. It might be talking about some other sort of death, the death of an identity, or the death of a friendship, or the death of a relationship, or the death of the day, even. So when we look at the Tao, we want to be able to look at it from a major sort of perspective. So much of the world has been honed. So much of our lives have been honed down to, what we believe is important. So when we say, okay, I need to make money, or like, I want to be abundant, I want money. Well, like, abundance means so much more than money. And yet everybody that wants abundance really kind of seems to want money or the things, but abundance is so much more than that. And if we can recognize that, if we can recognize the depth of the meaning of everything that we engage in, we'll be much more acceptable. Life will be much more, we'll accept more of what life has to offer, essentially. So I don't know. It's hard sometimes for me to pick a number, because numbers do come to my mind quite a bit when I do the Tao. And so I've been looking at the titles, and when a title pops out at me, I usually pick it. And so here today I picked number 41, which is "Laughing at Tao is perfectly reasonable." So we're going to see what this says. So I'm going to read through it, and then I'm going to go ahead and go through it line by line, or section by section, and I'll read the notes that I have here. And these are 41. I haven't rewritten these notes. I've been going through and editing, just trying to improve the readability and understandability of the notes recently. And so I haven't rewritten these, but we will go through those notes. Okay, so laughing at Tao is perfectly reasonable. And it starts by saying, those who live with sincerity, when they hear of Tao, immediately begin to embody it. Those who live casually may trust it at times, but aren't quite sure what to do with it. Those who embrace the manifestation completely laugh and scoff at the very idea. If they didn't laugh and scoff, well, it wouldn't be Tao. Therefore, you may have noticed progress doesn't always seem to advance. Beauty oftentimes can come off as obscene. The powerful can tend to seem weak. True love can appear tough or indifferent. Wisdom can be mistaken as childish, and great art can appear unsophisticated. Tao is hidden in all of these, imparting what is needed, completing everything. You know, these days have been a little rough for me because a lot of things kind of didn't align the way I was expecting them to, and it really kind of keeps me on my toes for keeping my expectations in check. But this last line, Tao is hidden in all of these. And in what I'm experiencing, there is Tao. Tao is there, and it is guiding me forward. And my frustration or whatever is just me not trusting Tao. Me not trusting this this experience. Thus, when we look at the beginning lines, when it says those who live with sincerity versus those who live casually, it can be said that I'm currently living casually. I may trust it at times, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Right? So that means I need to move into living with more sincerity. Living with more sincerity of Tao, to immediately begin to embody it. To embody Tao even more than I have thus far in my life. Why? Because I currently doubt it. I'm currently doubting this experience. I'm currently frustrated. I'm currently sad or whatever. Now, it's okay to be sad. I'm not trying to say I don't want to be sad. I'm trying to say that I'm sad and it is creating an experience in which I'm not quite sure what to do with it. But when I can understand Tao and I can completely embody it, I can go through these things. Yes, progress doesn't always seem to advance. It's okay. This is still progress. Beauty oftentimes comes off as obscene. So this is a beautiful experience that I'm having. Hence, it sometimes can be obscene. Like this experience that I'm having might not be as beautiful as or might be a lot more beautiful than I am currently experiencing. The powerful can tend to seem weak, which is where I am feeling right now. I do feel weak, and yet I know that I am powerful. True love can appear tough or indifferent. Wisdom can be mistaken as childish. Great art can appear unsophisticated. So those are some things that don't necessarily align with my personal experiences at this moment, but the beauty and the progress and the powerful, all of those align, as does those who live with sincerity. Excuse me. Those who live with sincerity, when they hear of doubt, can immediately begin to embody it. And this is where I want to be. I want to embody this to a degree that I'm currently not embodying it. Because when I'm able to embody living with Tao and making sure that I recognize that just because it doesn't appear that I'm progressing doesn't mean that I'm not. Right? Just because it may appear obscene doesn't mean this isn't a beautiful experience. Just because I may appear to be weak at this moment doesn't mean I'm not powerful. And when I recognize that, like, it's okay to laugh at Tao, it's okay to not be quite sure about what Tao wants from me or where I'm heading, it's okay, and I can move towards sincerity so that I can embody Tao even further. The notes for the first part of this verse, which states, those who live with sincerity when they hear of Tao immediately begin to embody it. Those who live casually aren't quite sure what to do with it, but trust it at times. That's kind of where I'm recognizing myself at this moment. Those who embrace the manifestation completely laugh and scoff at the very idea. I may even be tipping into that, where it's like, I'm frustrated with things that are going on in my life to such a degree that it could be said that I'm scoffing at Tao. I wouldn't push it that far, but it is possible that I could be at that level. It's really important for us to recognize that we're not where we might assume or want to be. It's really important for us to recognize that. I was working with a client the other day, and she had this idea in her head that I was like, it is nice to think that like someone would choose you and you could lift them up and get them to quit drinking and using drugs and all of this stuff because, just because you are you, and I was like, that's a crazy thing to think. It's crazy to think that like you will inspire somebody to change them, for them to change themselves. That's not a it's not a reasonable thing to ask. Like she had an ex-boyfriend and she wanted him to stop drinking and using and stuff, and I kind of pointed out that like, yeah, okay, it's romantic for you to kind of think that, wouldn't it be nice if I can, just being me, inspire them to quit drinking and using drugs. And I was like, that's a crazy idea. And for her to recognize that what she's thinking is crazy is a huge step, even though she knew it all along. She gets fooled into thinking that this is a healthy way of thinking. And this is the same thing that I could do right now if I said, those who embrace the manifestation completely laugh and scoff at the very idea. And I go, well, I don't completely embrace the manifestation. So, but really, I am embracing the manifestation at this moment to such a degree that I'm worried about like being able to, continue paying my mortgage and all of these other things, like as things unfold. And yet I have plenty of time while everything is perfectly fine. Why would I use this time to embrace the manifestation? Why would I do that? That's crazy, because anything can happen at any moment. I can get an email today that changes my life irrevocably for the better, and I'm not taking that into consideration. All I'm taking into consideration is this moment. If nothing were to change in 6 months, I may be fucked. Well, you know what's going to happen within the next 16 months? Change. And I know that. So if I'm here embracing the manifestation, and even though, yeah, sure, I wrote this rendition of the Tao. I'm a, I wouldn't call myself a scholar, but we can say, I'm a Tao scholar. I'm well versed in the practice of living with Tao. I can keep my mind quiet, all of these things. And still, I am at a place where I can laugh and scoff at Tao because I am leaning in towards, things not changing. And that's crazy, but it still happens. But I have to recognize it, become aware of it. My notes here read, here are 3 kinds of people who can embody Tao completely upon hearing it once. There are 3 times. One who can embody Tao completely upon hearing of it once. Another who is on the fence, still attached to the world of illusion, but desiring truth. Finally, those who are stuck in the manifestation. Tao is always in harmony, and so, as the title points out, it is perfectly reasonable to laugh and scoff at Tao. Now, those are my notes, and I'm going to have to improve upon those. Those notes were written a while back, because we have to recognize that just because you live with sincerity doesn't mean that you aren't going to occasionally live casually and occasionally embrace the manifestation. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm both living casually and maybe tending to embrace the manifestation. And I have to make sure that I don't embrace the manifestation if I want to be calm and kind of move forward and be able to grow with sincerity. So I want to be able to add on to that. I want to be able to contribute that idea to these notes, and so that's what today, I guess, was here to show me. I have very short notes for the next one, but therefore you may have noticed. So this is back to the verse. Therefore you may have noticed progress doesn't always seem to advance. Beauty oftentimes can come off as obscene. The powerful can tend to seem weak. True love can appear tough or indifferent. Wisdom can be mistaken as childish. Great art can appear unsophisticated. The notes here read, these are some reasons. These are some of the reasons it is perfectly reasonable to laugh at Tao. It is full of paradoxes. And that's it. That's all the notes I have. Like, Tao is full of paradoxes. And it's important to recognize that Tao is full of paradoxes because, I experience paradox. One, I feel like for the most part, I live with sincerity, and yet here I am embracing the manifestation and maybe, living casually, or deeper still, embracing manifestation. All of these other paradoxes, right? Like, progress doesn't always seem to advance. That may be what's happening in my life right now. It doesn't seem to be advancing, and yet it is. There is progress happening. And this may be beautiful, but it may come off as obscene at the moment. And I am powerful, and yet I can seem weak. And because of that, I want to be able to be more vulnerable to the people that I love and in the lives of the people around me. And I need to remember that this experience is all me. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the world. There is no world. There is no other. There's just me. And so for me to recognize that I'm just here talking to me, talking to myself, you may have an experience that you're listening to me, but you're really listening to yourself. And so it's important to recognize that. It's important to recognize that this is your experience. And because it's your experience, you're not hearing me, you're hearing yourself. You're only able to hear yourself because you're you. You don't know where I'm coming from. You don't know the exact situation that I'm in. You may be able to glean some of that, but that's being gleaned through your mind, through you. So as this one completes, it says, Tao is hidden in all of these paradoxes, in all of these, points of wisdom and art and progress and beauty. Tao is hidden in all of it. Imparting what is needing, completing everything. Imparting what is needed, completing everything. My notes here read, Tao is part of all things. When we say it imparts what is needed, we see that those who laugh at Tao need to laugh at Tao so that they can grow and move to where they are going, even if that is towards embodying Tao. Does that seem paradoxical? It very well may be. If we are attached to outcomes in the manifestation, we have expectations and can never embrace Tao. There is nothing that happens that is not Tao, that is not aligned with Tao. See, that's an important aspect here that maybe I even missed in my first reading of it, right? Tao is hidden in all of these, imparting what is needed. When we say it is imparting what is needed, like, I am here living casually because that's what I need right now so that I can grow into myself more. I have fear of becoming something that, quote unquote, I am not, right? Where does that come from? And what does that mean? What am I not? The Tao says in one of the verses, like, if you want everything, then you have to know what everything entails. What does it mean? What is everything? You have to know the good and the bad and the right and the wrong. And you have to know all of these things if you want everything. But when you want nothing, everything is yours. And so Tao is hidden in every experience that you're having, imparting what is needed, completing everything. In order for me to become complete, I need to be in this state right now, in this state of frustration, in this state of sadness, in this state of embracing the manifestation, in this state, whatever state it is you're in. So if you're angry, of course, Tao is hidden in that anger, and it is imparting what is needed. So if you question, well, do I have to be this angry? All of a sudden you're bringing awareness to it. Now you are moving towards completion. Now, if you are just angry and don't question it and don't allow the entirety of who you are, right? Your survival brain, your love relationship brain, your logic brain. If you don't allow each of those to become aware of what's happening, well, you're going to get cancer, you're going to get sick, you're going to get all of these fucking things in your life. You're going to get autoimmune diseases and all that stuff. Why? Because you're not living in harmony. Right? You're not living harmoniously. Now, Tao is giving you what you need. And if you don't learn from that, it will give you something else, right? So it's going to give you anger. And if you don't learn from the anger, it's going to give you cancer. If you don't learn from the cancer, it's going to give you whatever it's going to give you next, right? It's going to give you diabetes, even worse than cancer, right? So it's important to be able to question these things and really step into them with some clarity and understanding this last part. Tao is hidden in all of these. Tao is hidden in everything, right there in plain sight. So, all of these, right? These, what is talking about when we say these is that progress isn't always seen to advance. Curtis, I see you there. I'm going to grab you in a second. Beauty oftentimes comes off as obscene. The powerful can tend to seem weak. True love can appear tough or indifferent. Wisdom can be mistaken as childish. Great art can appear unsophisticated. And your anger can appear to go nowhere, and yet that is exactly what's needed. And in getting what's needed, everything is completed. We're going to bring Curtis James up, and we're going to see if he has a number to look at Tao. Curtis, how are you
Hey,
doing?
how you doing? Oh, I just really wanted to come up to say I like when you were talking about progression, and then it isn't about like what you were saying. It's about what you're thinking, like what I'm thinking. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking both. It was like kind of like a duality situation where like I was listening to what you were saying, but I was really thinking about myself.
Well, yeah. That's
That's so interesting. I love the
yeah,
way
it
you
can.
worded that. That was
Yeah.
great.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad. So let me. Have you been on Tao of the Day before? I don't
Yeah,
think. Have
I've
you?
listened to it,
Okay.
and Julie has recommended me to you so many times.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I saw you pass through my room, but I was doing my crystal singing bowls because tonight I get to perform, and I've just been practicing the past couple days. So
Oh, beautiful. Crystal
yes,
bowls are beautiful. Like, so you do sound therapy?
yes, that's really what I'm currently working on. I'm at a brain injury conference because I had suffered multiple. I got a scholarship, so I'm in a governor's suite here at the Marriott downtown, but it is what it is, and I'm so blessed to have this thing
Oh,
going
well,
on.
that's great. Well,
Yeah, it is.
you know what, let's if you're up for a little 10-minute chat,
Yeah,
why
sure.
don't
I
you
could.
pick a number between 1 and 81?
1 in 81. Let's go with 75.
75. And
Card for the day.
this will be your
Reading for the
card for
day.
the day. Yeah. So, number 75 is titled "There Needs to Be a Purpose."
Mm.
Now, the text reads, "People are starved for purpose because everything they do is taxed. That being so, why would they venture to do anything? By being intrusive, governments corral their people, forcing them to make a living instead of simply living. People have no purpose when their purpose is appointed. Without purpose, why would they want to live? All of this is intrusive meddling. It robs people of their lives and lines the pockets of those in authority."
Do you know why I chose the number 75?
I don't.
It was the year I was born.
Oh, me too.
Okay. But that makes total sense to me as well. So
Does it? Yeah, let's look at it a bit. So, people are starved for purpose because everything they do is taxed. What do you
yes,
think about that?
I'm rebellious against the government. So
You're what now? You rebel against the
I'm
government?
rebellious against the United States government, but
Let's look at taxed as being a bigger
yeah,
a bigger thing. Like, what does it mean to be taxed?
you shouldn't be taxed. I mean, why can't you live a free and simple life?
Well, so
Well,
I
there's
agree. I
trade,
agree.
and then I mean, it could go on and on and on. I
Well, right,
guess.
but even I mean, if you're in a relationship, like you're there is taxing that happens, right? Things
Yes.
tax you, right? Like even this conference that you're at is going to be taxing,
Yes.
right? So there's tax there. So people are starved for purpose because everything they do is taxed. Even though like you have compensation for how you're going to be taxed by staying in the governor's suite and all of these other things, right?
Yeah.
Like there's still things that are going to be taxing,
True. True.
you know. That being so, why would they venture to do anything? Because, like there's always and
Well,
for
it's really to create awareness, and it's for it's not just for like certain people. Like a lot of people got scholarships to attend this con.
oh no, this
Yeah.
isn't about
Well, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. But yeah, no. Just to give a little bit more insight on it, it's like survivors, parents with children that have brain injuries, and
Yeah.
current, and it's like I have pretty sure I have CTE and I have hepatic encephalopathy. So like I have the double whammy, and so I'm being
So
taxed on
and those are things that are
pharmaceuticals.
taxing you, correct?
Yeah,
And
and
so yeah,
that
so
so there's
there's
a
a trade
healing
off.
process. Would I
Yeah.
would I be correct? And yeah, so that's why you went back to the sound healing, and that's what has made my I play a bunch of musical instruments, as you
Hmm.
probably know, but yeah, taxing. It's an
Yeah,
interesting word.
right. And it's a broad perspective, right? Your focus on government like really kind of shrunk it into like
Yeah,
this little box,
yeah,
but people are starved for purpose
right.
because everything they do is taxed. Now, if you have a purpose and that taxes purpose, why do you venture to do it? Right? Like because there is benefit for it. There's like you are
Yes,
like it's aligned with you, you're living, all of these things. By being intrusive, governments corral their people. Right? So that means that like anytime you try to do something, and our current state of government, our current state in the world is how are you going to live if you have to be forced to make a living with that which you do?
hmm
And thus, you're being taxed. Like you can't just live your life like with your like with your ailments and all of this stuff.
yeah, sure,
Now it's like
right.
you are like you have to go, oh, sound healing, now this is going to be my identity, and now
Yeah,
it's like it's all of this stuff, right? You're being taxed
and my
along the way,
5 days a week of doctor's appointments. Yeah, no,
right?
I get it.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
forcing them to make a living, and you have to make your living by living into this identity of
yeah,
of the illness and then the healing and then all of that stuff instead of simply living.
that's
People
right.
have no purpose when their purpose is appointed. Without purpose, why would they want to live? All of this is intrusive meddling. It robs people of their lives and lines the pockets of those in authority. And that's not it's not a bad thing.
No,
It's not
yeah,
but
we have to make a living somewhere.
well,
Or some people do.
right, and there is always this kind of coming back to simply living. What does that mean to you? And what does that look like for you? Like, what is simply living? What is that? And
Well,
how can that be embraced?
I did that probably. Let's see, what is it? 2023. Just to give a little insight, it was 2012, so it was like 11 years ago. So with my girlfriend, she was like, "Hey, we gotta get out of here." I was like, "Where are we going?" She's like, "Well, you have a lot of friends out west." I'm like, "Yeah," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Let's just go." I was like, "All right, give me a week," and then we tented the whole way across the country because she was trying to like um, protect me from. I had a really bad problem with drinking, and she was trying to take me away from that and be in nature. So we tented the whole way across the country, and we were in so many different states, lived in so many different places, and then it was beautiful. So I mean, that to me, that was living. You know, I was
Right.
taking that road trip. It was like 80. Oh gosh, I think it was like 85,000 miles. Then we ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina, because that's where she wanted to be, and I was like, okay, I want to be in Florida, but
Oh yeah.
we never made it to Vegas. But
Oh.
so there's a little insight on that. But yeah, no, I mean that was living out in nature, tenting. You know, I mean, yeah, sure, we weren't homeless or anything, um, and you know, it's not to say anything about that because I've heard your story about that as well, and I've had actually friends have that came up to me hearing my story saying, you know, there was a time I was, and I'm like, I would never expect it because they have these, you know, they make courageous amounts of money, and I'm just like, wow, that's but I don't know, storytelling, I guess, whatever, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, I don't know like how many miles. Maybe like 85,000 miles is like twice around the equator. So
it
like
was 85,000 miles. Yeah, because
wow.
well, it's because we had to keep running to, I'm going to say the name, Starbucks. Like, we would literally go 20 minutes outside of our way to where we had to get to so that somebody could get their coffee. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh gosh, why are you being so, uh, you know,
Well, that's identity, right? And
yeah.
that's so much of like you
I
know.
think about it now. It used to irritate the living crap out of me. I did it anyway because it was my car. But yeah, no, I mean we really did it, and it was great.
Oh,
So
that's
then
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, I mean we got so I mean because my mom, I was raised. My mother wanted me to and her children, to my younger brothers, to see America by its roots. So we were always like road tripping everywhere.
Mm.
And for me, it wasn't a problem. For her, it was like her first time to actually go out and explore things. So, and we were pretty much we were 2 years apart, but um, yeah, I mean, we were literally the same age, and we just went out and did it. And it took a little bit of effort for me because I was like, I want a hotel room. So the first night we did get one. And then after that, she's like, we brought our tents. And I'm like, yep. She's like, you're going to have to get used to that. I'm like, but I didn't have, I mean, I had a residual income, but it wasn't like I'm not wealthy or rich or anything
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
Yeah, I'm a
You know, it's
oh,
sorry
birdies.
about that. Yeah. So it's important to recognize that that's a taxing as well. You know, all of
Yeah.
these things are taxed, right? So when you kind of identify a purpose, like and this is identity again, right? Like once you identify that purpose and you start moving towards that, like you're going to be taxed because what it means to move towards that is it means to like embrace that identity, like make a living doing it, or
Hmm.
support yourself doing it, or like there are expectations then that you put on, there's even expectations that you put on your own healing, and
True.
expectations that you put on, and all of that starts to get taxed, and it gets taxed because there is an overarching story that we're living under the influence of, which is that in order for it to have purpose, in order for it to be like in order for me to appreciate it, or for others to appreciate it, or for me to be successful at it, it has to do these things
Still has to be
that
taxed.
right. And so here is the text, and then what we have in this last line is all of this is intrusive meddling. It robs people of their lives and lines the pockets of those in authority.
I like that.
And so it's a broad perspective that
It
we're taking
is.
here, because it needs to be able to fit into multiple modes of, where people are and what they're doing.
Oh yeah. Instead of just being yourself and loving
Right. It's
yourself.
not, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and when you can recognize it as yourself, and then kind of be able to step back and say, okay, how does it fit? Rather than, that's not me, because I
Right.
don't like this. I don't like taxing. And I'm like, well, you've chosen being taxed in certain areas, and we all have. And we
Mm-hmm.
have accepted those taxes, and we have embraced those taxes in ways that we don't necessarily know. Of course, when it comes to, like, paying our taxes, we're like, I
Oh,
don't
sure.
like this, right? Like, but
Well,
but
that's why
that's
I'm
really,
going over to England to marry Julie's daughter. That's the running joke.
oh,
Yeah, it's a joke. So it's
yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah, I know that,
but-
yeah.
that was going
You know,
on for a little
we
while.
left England because they taxed us too much. So
Right.
I don't know if you're escaping anything by going over to the Brexit.
Yeah, I know. Well,
um,
I might need to disappear for a while.
yeah. Well, and that's but that doesn't mean you're going to be avoid being taxed. And that's the, like there are taxes that we accept, and we accept those taxes because paying those taxes gets us a governor suite, right? Like, or other things, and that's not a bad thing, but it is something that when we can put that into perspective, we can recognize the taxes that we have elected to pay. Did I lose you? Oh, I did. Oh, truly Julie's coming up. I didn't recognize the time had cut out. But sorry about that, Curtis.
Bidding.
Hey, Julie.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. I hear that you have sent Curtis my way.
Obviously. Yeah,
How are you?
I'm all right. I've just been doing some practice with my CBT part of this course that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And today I did a imaginary tension release script, which was really, really good. And
Oh,
when I
good.
when I did it, I noticed that to be able to access that residual tension, you have to turn the dial completely up before you can turn the dial completely down. It's quite a magical kind of experience that
What do
was.
you mean?
So, generally in our bodies, we have tension that we don't even realize is there.
Right.
So it's the tension that holds us maybe in an upright position when we're standing,
Mm-hmm.
or in a sitting position. We don't realize that we have tension in those muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, we just know we're sitting down. So
Mm.
going
I
through
know this exercise now. I
yes,
know what you're
yes,
saying.
going through the
So.
tension release, what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing is we're becoming aware of our ability to create more tension in parts of our body. So we are conscious of we're aware of our arm, and we're aware that it's relaxed. But when we really tense up our forearm and hold it for a moment
Mm-hmm.
and then let go completely, and this is something I've discovered my voice is really good at, is the instruction to let go.
Yeah.
Let go completely, utterly. And the fact of doing nothing, completely let go, and feeling that release.
Yeah.
Suddenly, for the first time, you can feel totally relaxed, no
Yeah.
tension, and your muscles then don't send any signals at all to your brain. And that for me was phenomenal.
Yeah. No,
To
that's a
discover.
beautiful, that is, we talk about that in Tao, of course, like when we say things like, in order to, uh, what's the line? You have to, if you want to take a deep breath, you have to empty your lungs. If you
Yeah,
want to feel slack, you have to first tense.
absolutely.
In order to know what, if you want everything, you must know what everything consists of, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
You've got to
that's
know
the
the equation. You've got to know the
right.
equality, the one end to the other, the polar, the opposites. That's the thing. So that you can realize and notice for the first time when there's nothing. That's just, it just astounded me. So I've been doing that this morning. I've done a script, and actually, Martin, John, I'm going to record it for these
Oh,
ladies.
good.
I'm going to record it for them. They've asked for that. I thought I might record one for you as well.
Oh, good.
I'd like your feedback on it, actually,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Of
because
course.
I value your feedback very much.
Yeah.
So a number, Martin
Yeah,
John.
please.
Today is the 27th. That's my number. That's the
27.
present time, the now.
27. It's funny, like a friend of mine um, texted me yesterday and asked for me to send him 27 as well. The mystery of the process is number
Mm.
27. Although a good traveler may have plans, they are not rigid, nor is the outcome. Although a good artist creates, the creations are arrived at through intuition. Although a good scientist observes, it is done for the first time, every time. By embodying these strategies, the master accepts everyone and makes use of every situation. Nothing is wasted, and every moment is imbued with light. What is the good, if not a vision for the bad? What is the bad, if not a lesson for the good? Accept this completely, or you will suffer in all that you do. It is the great secret.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Considering
Especially with
what
what
I'm
we were talking about,
doing. Yes, absolutely, yes.
right?
Yeah.
So,
And
it starts, go on.
for the present time as well, when you're thinking about the present, the space that you are in and the things that you're able to observe right now and feel and interact with, if you allow that, then you get the light, you get the most out of it. You really do. And you're putting into it at the same time by observing it, by being aware of it, by experiencing it, you are putting back into that.
Right. I mentioned earlier, and even this really came up as well with me talking to Curtis.
Mm.
There is this space, right, where we have to acknowledge what we're doing. Like I had a client yesterday, and we were talking, and she saw her ex, and deep inside, she wanted her ex to change his relationships to drugs and alcohol because of her. And
Mm.
now she didn't say that outright, because if you say that outright, you recognize that you're a nut job,
I love the way you put things.
right? But when she kind of beats around the bush and says, well, I was hoping he'd make different choices, but that's not what he's doing. And I'm just like, so, okay, we have to pull the cat out of the bag here. You
Mm.
believe something that's crazy. Let's look at that. I want you to see that you are believing something deep in your mind, and you're convincing yourself something deep in your mind of something that is absolutely crazy. And you would not, if I were to say this, if I were to say, you really want your boyfriend to change because of you,
Mm.
she would be like, no, no, no. I was just like, wait, let's break down everything that happened. And she didn't say no. She was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Mm.
Because you know how I work, where it's like we lead you into that. But she, by recognizing that, like, you are not so good. You are not so nice. You are not like in the scientist observes. It is done for the first time every time. You're not observing. And
Mm,
you're taking things in, and you're creating them, through what your expectations are.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when you do that, you are setting yourself um, a failure rate as well as a success rate,
That's right. Right.
which is something I've learned a lot
And
to stop doing to myself.
yeah, like, and all of this really, like, there's this thing in the middle, embodying these strategies. The master accepts everyone, da da da. But
Yeah,
there is this end where it says, what is the good if not a vision for the bad? What is the bad if not a lesson for the good? If we turn our back on the quote unquote bad,
yeah,
we don't learn our lesson. And if we turn our back on the bad, we can't take the good that we are accomplishing in our life and allow it to be a vision for that, because we're avoiding it.
yeah.
We were talking to Curtis earlier about that whole idea of like, well, there are things that you're being taxed, but, you know, if you're saying like, I don't mind being taxed in this way that I'm benefiting, but
Mm,
I don't want to be taxed in ways that I'm not benefiting. It's like, well, it's all the same. You're being taxed, which means that, okay, so you can live with the expectations of these people, but you don't want to live with the expectations of these people. Well, now we have to make sure that we recognize the good and the bad, and we're creating a vision, and we're learning the lessons that we do.
mm,
It's not separate. It's not
no,
different things. It's all compiling, and we're just accepting one because it's benefiting us at the moment.
correct. And then if you're not actually accepting the bad, then you will be you're not getting the whole picture.
That's right.
You
You're
know, so
only
it's
getting
like,
what you right.
yeah.
You
So
all you're doing is
if you only ever want to see the color yellow, then the blue and the green are not going to enhance that yellow at all. You
right,
need the other things. You need the bad to
right,
create the whole picture so that you can see what you like and why you like it
right, and
and where
and
you're
and
aiming.
stop, and then you can probably stop liking at all.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
it's not it's not important to like it.
Yeah, yeah,
It is
absolutely.
like, and it is this way, and here we are, and this is what's happening. And that is, we get to be in that space when we're when we expand on the idea that like, oh, I want this, I don't want, like, all of our wants and likes and things. And it's like, well, I like this, and because it's not like this, uh I'm going to denote it as being bad.
I'm
And
going
it's
to
like, and I'm going
meddle.
to avoid it.
I'm going to meddle with it.
Right. And
Well, I'm going
and
to
it says,
try.
accept this completely or you will suffer in all that you do. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's not like an even success will lead to suffering. So even if you're having
absolutely.
success in, those things that you are turning your back on, like, right, if this woman successfully gets her partner to change for her, that's just going to create more suffering later when he points to her when he can't
Yeah,
stay sober or whatever.
yeah. And she's going to have to live with the responsibility of keeping him in that space.
Right. And he is going to be able to manipulate that situation so that she will eventually be overtaxed
Yeah.
and miserable.
Yep. She'll
And
be living
yet,
under the
and then
influence.
all he'll have to do is like, well, if you leave me, then I'm going to do this. And it's like, oh, I got to stay, and I got to,
Yep.
like, all
Living
of
under
those
the
crazy.
influence.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's what it is.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. Absolutely.
God, you're a great teacher, Martin John. If I was going to write, anything, like a life story, and I was going to place, there are a few people I would place in my life story as game changers. And the thing is the game changing went on within me, but
yeah.
without a particular conversation on a particular day. There you go.
Well,
There.
I always like to think that if it wasn't me, it'd have been someone else. So it's not.
They wouldn't have been as good, Martin. They wouldn't have been as good. They weren't you. It's the
That's
essence
true.
of you that I like so much. It is the essence of Martin and the way that he talks, your clarity, and you are truly yourself. As much that I'd probably put truly Martin John Garcia. Yes. Yeah.
I would. I try. Like it's still always a struggle, and it's always. I was talking earlier about the idea that there are times where I embrace the manifestation and I get lost in that, and it's
Yeah,
good.
we all do. That's the point. That's what makes
Yep.
you authentic, is the fact that you realize that all of us are forever learning, forever observing, forever moving, forever flowing, forever in. And that's why.
Oh, you just cut out. You can come back up if you have a moment. We can wrap that up. Otherwise, I do so appreciate, especially now, because things are always in flux, and I've been a little under the not embracing my awesomeness as much as I would like, and
You
it
should.
actually. Like it was. I'm so grateful for my connection to people, because yesterday, when I needed just a little extra, two people from Wisdom, Kelly Swenson and
Well,
Heidi.
top quality. Or what can I
Yeah,
say? You got the best.
both just sent me texts out of the blue, just kind of reminding me that I'm awesome, and I was like, okay, needed it really bad. Like,
I'm just
so.
icing. I'm just icing the cake. But the thing is about it, Martin John, is it's not anything that you do. It's the fact that you are still human. You are working on the level,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it so powerful. That's what makes it so powerful. You're not coming from a higher place.
Right.
And for people like me who struggle sometimes with their confidence, they struggle sometimes with having a conversation with somebody that they are holding in a position of authority almost, or that level up.
Mm-hmm.
But because you do what you do so well, and yet you are still so you are so human in that, so real. That's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're an amazing man. You really are, and I totally, absolutely adore you. You're amazing.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
I can't say it enough. Sometimes it's just great to hear it.
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful that like our paths crossed and they stay crossed, and we
Yeah,
continue supporting each other. So that's
yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you,
All right.
Martin.
Yep. All right. Curtis is back in the queue. Let's see if he's got a little something to add to either 27, 75.
27. That was a great number. Thank you,
Oh
Julie.
yeah.
The Traveler. I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Travel
was
may
cool.
have plans, but they're not rigid, nor is the outcome. Just
Right.
traveling.
Well, I just wanted to mention also, because I know Dow's in the room, that we've been cutting. So, because I know how to wrap it up, like when I'm running out of time. But and it happened to Julie too. We were cutting out at like 40 seconds, 38 seconds, and then it
Oh,
was
were you?
just thanks for being a
Yeah,
guest.
that's it.
Yes,
Like
that's what happened.
I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on with the
it's a glitch.
time. Yeah,
It's the
like I've been
solar
having timer
energies.
glitches Like there was
It's fine.
an issue where I would start and it would give people like 40 seconds more, and then it would cut out at 40 seconds. And so like I was monitoring it for a while, but now it's like
Yeah.
people come in and it's like at 14:44 or something like that instead of 15
Okay.
minutes, and I don't
Wow.
know what's going on, and so
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey,
yeah.
we all enjoy this community because if it wasn't for this community, a lot of us wouldn't be getting all this terrific information that you provide, that Truly provides. That I mean, I could run down the list, but I'm not going to because I could sit
No.
here for my whole entire 13 minutes, but and I'm not going to do that. And then that's the actual church bell ringing. Just let me know it's 8 o'clock, and which is outside my window.
Ah,
That I have to get down for breakfast, get the
yeah,
itinerary, and
get your get
everything
your
else.
get
But
your get your continental breakfast on.
no, not con. Oh no. It ain't Continental today, brother.
Good.
But no, thank you for holding the space today. I appreciate it. Are you
Absolutely.
always on it like this time in the morning, or
I
does
usually
it
come
pop up?
on. Yeah, I usually come on in the morning Central Time sometime. I mean, but
Okay,
I yeah, just it's not a set time or day or anything like that. I usually come on
I
Monday through Friday though.
just a pop up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one other thing. I was laughing very hard when you were talking about your client and her wanting her ex back
Oh
and
yeah.
try. Oh, jeez. I'm like, oh my, what a wish-washy situation that would be.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and for her to recognize that, and then recognize how how that's not really what she wants at all. That's a
That's
big.
pretty unique. I've never
Yeah,
heard that before. Thank
yeah.
you for sharing that. But
Oh,
that
absolutely.
was the first laugh of my day.
Oh
So I
well,
just wanted to give that to you.
may
Yeah, because I
long
was
may it
like,
continue.
that's well, it will. And I was just like, yeah, that's something one of my exes would probably incur on me as
Mm,
well. Like, just with the other party. But
yeah.
anyway, um, and it was great to hear Julie. And then her mention about, so Julie, if you're still here, please send me a link to your recorded stuff as well. And thank you, John. Martin
Absolutely.
John, sorry.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Either way.
I don't know. I don't, how we all go by weird names, but
Yeah.
it's my first name and my last name, or my middle name. If you want my full name, you just see the at, and that's me. And you can find me on Instagram as well. So,
Wonderful.
but
All
it's
right.
been a
Well, good
pleasure
luck
today,
today.
brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
and
Yeah, it's time to
enjoy
go.
the conference, enjoy the breakfast, enjoy everything, and be present with this moment. This too
I was
shall
going to
pass.
make a joke, but it's too early in the morning to make a joke. So,
All right, sounds good.
all right.
All right,
So,
ciao.
talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a good day. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there unless anybody else wants to come on and pick a number. Thank you so much for joining me for Tao of the Day. I'm Martin John, the Recovery Mentor, and if you benefit from the work that I do here on Wisdom or with Tao of the Day, you can always send me a tip over at Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. Dio is gonna join me. Is Dio gonna pick a number? What? Tao of the Day? Dio,
Hi,
how are you, dear?
I'm very well, Martin John. How about you? You sound great.
Oh, I am great. That's why. I don't know.
Okay, sure. I know you were signing off, but I was.
No. I'm always like I only sign off because like I don't get a lot of interaction, and we had Julie and Curtis, and now so I'm always up. So like if you are
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so
if
happy I happened to open it when you were
yeah,
on. And yeah, I would love to pick a number.
so that's between 1 and 81.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So 15 was the number that came to mind for some reason.
Okay. So this is Tao of the Day. I believe you're familiar. We look at the
Oh,
Tao Te Ching.
very.
Yeah. So this one is entitled Ancient Tao. What I'll do is I'll read through it, and then we'll go through it line by line and see how it all kind of like fits. So the ancient master's ability to comprehend the mystery was so profound and subtle that they were often misunderstood. One could only describe how they must have appeared. Careful as someone hearing ice crack midway through crossing a lake. Observant as someone surrounded by toxic threats. Courteous as a guest in awe of her host. Unpretentious as a felled branch in the wood. Vacant as someone staring into space. And dull as a man with nothing to boast about. Can you be still and add nothing until the mud settles and gives you the opportunity to see clearly? Can you be still until, on its own accord, the next action presents itself to you? The master has no need for herself. She doesn't seek or expect attention. Not needing or to appease herself, she has no requests.
Could I just ask Martin John, where the master is a she, is that a personalization that you do? Or is the master
It
actually a
is.
she?
No, so Tao is as energetic sort of as an energetic entity exists as the void. The void is inherently feminine.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay,
Yeah.
amazing.
So like if we look at masculine and feminine energy, masculine is stuff, and feminine is why this is the feminine is what we engage. So if you look at a house, the walls, the decorations, the stuff, all masculine. The
Mm-hmm.
space inside of the house where everything occurs, right? Where the love is, where the interactions are, where you live, that's feminine. That's like the vast open space,
I see. Okay, thank you.
right?
Thank
And you
you.
perform on that, right? So you perform like, and the performing is masculine, while the stage, the space that you take up, that's feminine. And so Tao is um Tao is that, right? When we look at like traditional religions like Roman Catholicism and other stuff like that, like their gods are masculine,
Yes.
but Tao is feminine. And so when I wrote this, like when I wrote this translation, it was important for me to like you'll notice like in when I use man, it's like dull as a man with nothing to boast about, right? Like it is separate. It is a separate thing. The whole is feminine. And so when we talk about the master, we talk about the feminine. And that's even within me, I'm like the master within me is the one that can be still. Even though I can have a lot of skill in doing, that's the feminine, that's the masculine, but it is the feminine that is that step back, that meditative, that ability to receive rather than act upon.
Okay, well, thank you so much for explaining that aspect of it. And I think on the main message, the ability to, it's like what, be still
Mm-hmm.
and pause for a while, perhaps before reacting. I think, yeah, that's an interesting one for me, because I think sometimes in conversation, I may tend to have to waiting for the other person to finish and pause and taking time to process before then responding is definitely something that for me is a work in progress, and it's always a work in progress because and people want to be listened to, even if I think in my head, well, I already know what you were going to say. That's not the point, right? People, everyone deserves to be heard, and to allow them to get their thoughts out in their own way. So I took that away from it, and then also I think sometimes I think in conversations, maybe if it's business conversations and work conversations, sometimes there's some I don't want to say anxiety around. Put it this way, I think sometimes in intense conversations, business conversations, it can be hard to just listen because I will already be thinking, how am I going to respond? How am I going to react to this? Whereas taking the time to, like you said, be still and listen before going into that, I think is valuable, and actually allowing time to think.
You know, a lot of times I feel like people listen in order to respond
Yep.
rather than listen in order to hear, you know? And when we, it's interesting because there's two parts of this verse, right? There is that like stillness and mud settling and all of this stuff, but it starts with this interesting sort of thing, like the ancient masters' ability to comprehend the mystery was so profound and subtle that they were often misunderstood, and we can only describe how they must have appeared. So now we go into this like six parts of like, what did they look like, right? How did they act? And we start careful as someone hearing the ice crack midway through crossing a lake. Can you imagine you're crossing a lake and you hear the
Mm,
ice crack? How attentive you would be rather than like just walking confidently through the world like you own the place, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is important and I need to pay attention.
yes, I got a visual of the ice cracking for sure, and
Yeah.
how slowly you move and test. You got to move and test every part with a foot before you put the full weight on it.
Yeah. And now when we take that, like that observation, this is how it looks, and we like lay that image over the conversations that you're having, how does that change the way you kind of the attentiveness of your presence within that conversation?
So true. Yeah, I mean it ratchets up.
Right. Now all of a sudden I have to pay attention because I don't know
Mhm.
what's what's going to happen. Like I don't know if it's going to crack or where the crack is coming from or what's happening. I'm not going to fill that space. And that's that like stillness, that really hyper sort of awareness of the present moment, not the next moment, what I'm going to respond with, but like this, what's being said. And this is like, right, they said they were often misunderstood because when you're present like that, maybe when they're done talking, you're still quiet. And that could be misunderstood as like, does she not understand? Does she, and then that can go in your head and that can get all crazy too. But it's like, no, I'm being still. And then the response comes.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of being comfortable with silence.
Yes. Oh,
For some it can be difficult, but I'm a fan of that. And yeah, time to think and process.
right. And there's a bunch of others. Like I like the unpretentious as a branch in a wood or vacant as someone staring into space. It's like this is how they were observed, just in all of these different ways that could be considered not like that's not how you want to act in every moment, but it's like that's a misunderstanding because it's like I'm not, that's how it looks, but what I'm doing is I'm allowing stillness to take hold of my thoughts.
Mm,
It's
what I'm
as we
doing
kind
right
of,
now.
yeah, as it continues, it says, can you be still, adding nothing until the mud settles and it gives you the opportunity to see clearly. The mud is the thoughts of how you're going to respond. The mud are the thoughts of like express it. Like I get into this problem as well, and you mentioned it, where it's just like I already know all of this, I don't want to listen to it, and it's like the mud is like, well, is there something here that I can glean from, or can I, or do I step away, or do I say, oh, no, I don't need to be engaged in this? And that's a way of allowing mud to settle too, and being still with that decision. Can you be still until on its own accord the next action presents itself to you? And that's a place where I'm at right now too, where it's like I need stillness because I don't know the next step.
And it's okay to not know. And I also think some of this also, I think sometimes also practicing this requires it requires cooperation sometimes if there's other parties involved. But sometimes it's also other parties that are pushing, and they want an answer right away, or they want a response right away.
Yes, but that doesn't always mean they get it.
Yeah.
But that takes, we were talking earlier about being taxed by others, and we were talking about like what that means, and it could, like, you could be being taxed by the other party, and it's like, well, is this a tax that I'm willing to pay, or is this a tax that I want to sit on? How do I want to respond? What am I living? What are the beliefs that I'm living under the influence of that tell me they want a response? Is really that just a story I'm telling myself, or do they really want a response? Or am I just afraid of not giving one?
Wow, I love where we got to with this, and I know I just have 2 minutes left, but I'll add in that definitely now something I've started practicing in the last couple of months are choosing to not respond or engage in contentious conversations where I think ahead to, okay, what's the outcome of this? If it's starting as an argument and somebody just wants to win, does the outcome of this conversation actually impact any decision going forward, any feeling going forward? And I'm opting out of certain conversations and threads. And to your point, it does require a two-way, because I think that's where it was coming from, where I was like, well, can I just opt out, or can somebody drag me in?
Right.
And thank you for just reminding me that, yeah, and actually, it's something I've actually started practicing now, and I remove myself. And yeah, so
Yeah,
thank you. Gave me
absolutely.
some.
I'm gonna continue reading the end of this, and if you wanted to come back up to finish that, that'd be great. But I'm just gonna go ahead and finish it if you don't have that time. The master has no need for herself. She doesn't seek or expect attention. Not needing to appease herself, she has no requests. And I think that is really kind of where we were ending, right? This idea of like not having a request. Like, you don't have to appease yourself. Um, and this is an interesting thing. This is your identity that we're talking about. The master has no need for that identity of herself as a what's important to her, and what, she can be still. She doesn't have to be seen as the smartest one in the room. She doesn't have to be seen as these things. She can take her time and be still, even if that's going to change how other people may perceive her, because she has no need for herself, as it says here.
Yes, I know. I was, where were we, mid flow? But yes, so I was rushing my thought out about how I'm still on the allowing yourself to be still,
Oh, please.
settle,
Yeah.
and contribute when needed. or sometimes not contribute. And I'm adding
Hmm.
that extension on in terms of like autonomy, and saying you can just be like, I'm not going to engage in this, and irrespective of the entitlement or the response, because something I'm finding is when you do that, and I'm not going to, it's, yeah, the other party can, they can be very taken aback, because it's changing a pattern, that
Ooh,
is so like imprinted.
yeah. They are expecting a response because they've always gotten one,
Makes sense. Okay, makes
you
sense.
know? And like they have learned how to manipulate situations and to do what they do because they have this expectation, and or their moms always did it, and their other bosses always did it, their other employees always did it, like this is how I get a response. And it's interesting when you say, well, I remember one time I was dating a woman, and she was in a class, and she was asked something, and it was sociology, so it's a lot of interpretation and things, and she was like, I do not feel comfortable providing a response to this at this moment because she didn't have all, she wasn't able to formulate a response, and so she she made a comment that was like, I do not feel comfortable with a response that I would formulate at this time. And it's like really just kind of laid it out in a very simple way, which just is like, there is a response. I have some thoughts about it, but I'm not comfortable with expressing those at this moment because they're not complete. It's like, and the teacher had to accept that. And when she told me about that, I was just like, what a great way to present that. Yes, you have thoughts, but they're not quite ripe for sharing.
And it's incidentally with that, that's something I often give that advice to. Sometimes when individuals ask about career advice, professional advice within office situations and corporations, and it often happens in corporations where someone will get pulled into a meeting with HR, and perhaps if it's and sometimes it's positive in terms of, we want to promote you, sometimes it's negative in terms of feedback, and I always counsel individuals to say, if you're pulled into something unexpected, you are you're perfectly within your rights to thank for dispersing the information and say, I'd like some time to go away and process, and come back to you, and then just keep quiet.
Yeah.
And but we oftentimes, we may not think we have the 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 right to do that. There's an impetus, and the situation is set up for an individual to feel that they need to react straight away.
Yeah. And, under, again, in my parlance, like that's like living under the influence of the expectations that you believe other people have of you. And maybe those expectations actually do exist, but that's not for you to uphold. Like if someone has an expectation, of course, if you're in a job and there's an expectation for you to perform, that's different. But if someone's giving you this information, and they, and they're like, well, what do you think? You can be like, well, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you on that. Like this, like it's so important for us to not live under the influence of others to the degree that causes us to, what do I want to say? Causes us to have to embrace or embody some identity that we're not at this moment.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe also to not cause you to function in a way that is suboptimal to your being.
Absolutely.
Some people don't, may not be great at, I don't know, confrontations, or responding immediately, or responding first thing in the morning. You're
Hmm.
still waking up and getting yourself together. And yeah, maybe it is just about it being okay to push back.
I mean, in that, like, I got an email on Saturday from someone that I'm contracted to be working with and stuff, and it was all of these sorts of questions and things that were revolved around some work that I was doing, and I was like, okay, I'm a little frustrated that I got this. I'm going to shut this down, and I'll respond when I'm ready, you know. And it's been days, and I've just been like, okay, I'm sitting on it, and I'm not sitting on it in order to frustrate them. I'm sitting on it because I can't respond yet. And the response, I can feel the response coming today or tomorrow, but it's not here yet, and I'm not going to force it.
Yeah, and and I think sometimes the power of allowing your brain and or your subconscious to work on something,
Mm-hmm.
I find for me that's it's very powerful.
Right. Because you're not doing
Where where even if I'm not engaging my active brain, to your point, I'm not ready to respond to this yet. But yeah, my brain, my subconscious is working on it.
it. Right. And that's where this can you be still until on its own accord the next action presents itself to you.
Oh, okay, I see. I'll see where we got to with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then it presents itself to you. It's like, okay, now you're ready. Right? Like when you are filled with anxiety about I have to respond to this and stuff, it's like, okay, well that's that's not you. That's the expectation that you believe is on you. And of course, so many people like are living in the shadow, and that is the only thing that they know because they don't know stillness.
oh, so I don't want to sound judgmental. No, because no, it's fine, fine. So for people who, as you said, are much further away from stillness. Okay, no, but I don't want to start because that's an interesting one. Is that somebody who's naturally chaotic, or are there, or there are people who are naturally chaotic, but they're also in their own stillness? I'm
You know,
really
so
trying to.
you've come across some an interesting thing that that the Tao does, and it is we pick numbers, but
Tell
I'm going
me.
to read you number 16, which is the next one, because you asked the question that this will answer. Being empty of mind is of the utmost importance, and it is to be guarded with fervor. We have all seen states of action arise, and always beyond it returns stillness. When any state of action is complete, it naturally returns to stillness. This allows integration of what arose from action, which is a natural state of maturation. And this is the part that I want you to pay attention to. If stillness and integration cannot be achieved, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements. Yielding to stillness makes one impartial, and all particular things fall away. Then when it comes time to die, one can be impartial to that as well. But it's these two lines. If stillness and integration cannot be achieved, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements. And that's number 16. So you picked 15, and it raises the question, well, then, do people who can't find stillness, are they anxious? Yes. And they make rash decisions. They do wild movements.
Hey, okay. Thank you. I got a really tidy answer to that aspect.
Yeah. And the Tao is, I mean, there's 81 chapters and they deal with different things and different levels and stuff like that. But as you ask the question, like, can you be still? And stillness is, and as it's said in 16, and being empty of mind is of the utmost importance and should be guarded with, like, you need to work at making sure that your mind is empty. Like that is the work that we have to do. And and it's not, it's like it's paradoxical because it's like, how do you work hard at being empty of mind, right? But it's like that, like noticing and being aware of when your mind isn't empty is really the work there, right? It's like, oh, well, let's quiet down, let's quiet, and constantly trying to obtain this stillness. Of course, action is going to happen. You're going to do stuff. But if that's all that you're doing is doing stuff and responding, constantly on, and this is like a lot of, this is how Amazon works and stuff. They want to put people through those big sort of stressful things of like, working and overworking and making you like they're
Mm.
creating all of these anxious people, and they're creating an environment that is full of, wild movements.
And when you say Amazon, you mean the app and the shopping
Yeah,
experience?
the company, like, like I've known a number of people that have worked for
Oh,
Amazon.
employees. Yeah.
Yeah, and like not just like one, they're shipping employees, but also they're corporate employees, right? They at least they did have a tendency to like go up to someone's desk. This is something that I know, I heard secondhand from somebody that worked there. Like, they would go up on Friday at 4 o'clock and be like, "Hey, here are some things, and I'd love you to take a look at them." And then Monday morning at like
Yeah.
8:30 when they arrive, "Oh, did you get a chance to look at that?" And it's like, that was the weekend. And so there's this pushing of, you need to be active over the weekend as well. So there's all of these sorts of things where it's like, you cannot be still here.
Got that.
That
Got
was
that.
the
Yes.
temperature of the corporate, and that's the temperature of their warehouse as well. It's like, you can't go to the bathroom, like, you can't, there's no stillness here. You have to just keep doing.
Gosh, and I suppose that's the price we're paying for their logistical supply chain and being able to get stuff
Yeah, that's the price we're
so
paying for fulfillment.
so quickly,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, to your point, yeah, it does feed well into toxic workplace cultures, and I am happy, and I know the tide is happening. The tide is turning slowly, but I do love now that more so than perhaps 10 years ago that especially younger generations now, some, not all, but some that have the privilege, that they're actively opting out of
Yeah.
certain cultures, which in turn is then pushing employers to have to be more mindful, because you said that they're not going to do it just for the sake of, when even, and digging back to my various, years and years as an employee, employers don't necessarily change things just to be nicer. It's more that this is what the talent demands. This is what the young
Yeah.
talent entering the marketplace demands, and therefore we have to change.
And it'll get us a better outcome.
Yes, I mean they may the HR and management may not believe that at the time. They may, a lot of the time they're just doing it because this is what the research indicates, that if we want to get the best graduates from, the best institutions, this is what they need. But to your point, yes, better outcome ultimately.
Nope. And there you went. Oh, Dio, I love interacting with you, and I love your mind. I love what how and also I love that our connection always seems to be fruitful. So thank you so much for joining me once again. Stillness and integration. And the ancient Tao. Once again, we started with all of these, these things about what they look like. What does it look like to be still? It looks like you're being careful. It looks like, you know, um, I like this one line. Observant is someone surrounded by toxic threats. This is in 15 as well. Observant as someone surrounded by toxic. Imagine if you walked into a party and you just were surrounded by toxic people and you knew it. Now you could leave, but if it was still going to take you time to leave because you wanted to be there to support whatever reason that you were there for, um, you would be surrounded by these toxic threats. And those toxic threats are like you want to make sure that you're cautious about what you say, and you're cautious about where you go and where you put your hands and all of those things. Hey, Julie, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying the observance of toxic threats.
Oh yeah.
Um, the reason being is the observance teaches you skills, and I've in my lifetime had to be vigilant. I've had to be vigilant, so it's a great gift that I've had from quite a turbulent kind of time.
Yeah.
But that then allows me to go to that space of quietness because I need that quietness in order to observe and then preserve myself. That's what it's pretty much about, is, you know, it's a skill really that is assisting to help you in survival
Yeah.
so that you can elongate your experience. You can
Yeah. Being
elongate your experience.
observant of anything, like, so what it says here is being observant as someone surrounded by so if you are surrounded by and you have to be vigilant, like
Yeah,
that imagine if you had to do that like imagine if you were just sitting out looking at flowers and you were observant to that degree.
yeah,
And that's the thing, so many of us, we're not observant to that degree until we are surrounded by toxic threats.
yeah,
But it's like, if you can be that observant, that doesn't mean judgmental. It just means observing, like, oh, here's someone that is, like I'm surrounded by, like I'm in a room and there are two people here that I know have schizophrenia. Well, I want to make sure that I'm being observant of those people, right? Like I'm narrowing my focus, but I have to be very observant. Even if I'm in conversations with someone else, I have to be aware of what's going on over there because that could change real quick.
yeah.
And so it's really important for us to be observant to the fact that, like, oh, here's a flower, here's a tree, and what's going on behind me? Oh, look, there's a squirrel, and there's this, and I'm observant of those things. I'm not just taking them for granted as if they're not affecting me, because they are.
And also, when you are being observant, there is that quietness of mind that we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, that pausing
Right.
of thought, dropping thoughts when they come, dropping feelings, and dropping perceptions. So when you're observing, you're in a space of complete emptiness so that you can see, you can observe without the input from you. So it's a space completely of openness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing about, that's the biggest learn that I had, because like I said to you, in my previous kind of experiences up to now, I've had to be vigilant,
Yeah.
but not always have I had that silence. That's something that's come along a lot later.
Yeah. And that,
Yeah,
like, we have to recognize that, that we we have to be ready to receive that, not only ready in our own body, but ready in, the consciousness of mankind has to be ready for that as well.
yeah,
So it's real important that we can recognize those things. And when, what we talk about here is being careful or being observant or being courteous, all of that is like how we would describe what the ancient masters looked like. They weren't,
mm,
and their understanding of the depth of Tao was so profound that they were the ones that were misunderstood. People saw them as being careful, and they were like, "Why are you being so careful? You're just here. Why are you being so quiet? Why are you observing things in this way? Why are you doing those things?" Because they understood Tao. So they looked like they were being that way, but they were moving with the flow of things.
yeah. They were
Other people
active,
were
even
judging,
though, yeah,
right?
they were active, even though they were not active. They were
Right.
still active. Yeah,
And that's what they appeared. That's how they appeared. They appeared this courteous. They appeared this observant from the outside. from somebody
Yeah.
that wasn't an ancient master.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it goes
Absolutely.
in like, because they are still an open, and they love to a degree that it's not clear, because it's deeper than the etiquette, or it's deeper than the actions, and that's where
Yeah.
it's like, can you be still and add nothing so that you can see
Yeah.
clearly? Can you be still
Absolutely. I love that. The do
until
nothing. We spoke
that's right,
about that earlier on. The do nothing means think nothing. Then when you're
right,
thinking nothing, you're acting nothing, you're behavioring nothing, you're emotionally nothing. You get clarity.
right. And for me, like, one of the big things that I kind of like push on in my life is, can I observe myself today rather
Mm.
than be myself today? Like, not be as in like who I am, but be as in like my identity. Can I drop
Yeah.
my identity and just observe what I do? Can I
Yeah.
observe myself having this conversation rather than having this conversation? Can I just step aside and watch as this body performs the, ritual of talking? Can I
The
step back and
flow.
watch my body walk across? Can I just watch? Can I utilize this life as a movie that I'm going to watch, and not choose to engage in the identity that I've created?
Mm.
And it's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Those things can happen, in moments or chunks of time. But like, there are times when I get caught up, and I'm like, I'm back in my body, and it's like, when did I get here? Like,
That's me. I was going to say those moments for me are fleeting, but I do enjoy them when they come.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
the
they are
thing is we
fleeting.
just keep practicing, right? Practice makes
Yeah.
progress. And we just,
Yeah.
it's funny. I was, like, years ago, I talked to my nephew about what he wanted to be when he grew up and whatever. And I was like, well, do you want to be someone who does these things that you're doing? And I'm like, well, everything you do is practice. So you're practicing to do this. What
Yeah.
what is it you're practicing to be, if this is what you're practicing to do?
That's great, isn't it? Do you
Yeah.
like that you're doing this? Lovely.
Right. Do you like that you're doing this? Because if you don't, then stop it. Like,
Pack it
and if,
in.
I remember reading, I think it was an Anna Lemke book, and she was talking to one of her patients, and her patient was smoking weed, and she was just like, well, do you expect to be smoking weed when you're 40? When you're 30?
Mm.
When you're 25? It's like, well, if you don't expect to be smoking weed then, why are you smoking weed now?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, what are you doing? Like, why engage in something that you're going to stop doing? Why not stop now? And
Yeah.
it had gotten into her client's head, and then she was like, yeah, like, I'm not smoking, like, and that just happened over time. Like, over the next week or two, like, her client decided that she wasn't going to do it anymore. Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, are you asking yourself, do you like that you do this? Is this something that you want to be doing? Are you engaged in this? Or is it just something that you happen to be doing? Or is this
Mm.
something that you really want in your life and you want to continue doing? And it's not
Yeah.
judgment. It's just, hey, ask the question.
Have a look at it. Have a look at
Yeah,
it. Observe it. Yeah.
that's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just simply
Thank you,
take a
Martin
look.
John. I
Absolutely.
also wanted to say it was lovely to have to be able to listen to Dio as well with you. That was really pleasurable. So thanks for that,
Yeah.
and thanks Dio as well.
Yeah. I
Thank you,
like it when
Martin
dial
John.
comes up. Absolutely. We'll be in
Yeah.
touch, Julie. I love you.
Take care, love. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Ciao. All right. Well, I I have Mary Kay is in the queue. I was gonna sign off, but we're gonna go ahead and take Mary Kay. Mary Kay, I do have a hard stop in 15 minutes, so we're gonna run through this. How you doing, love?
Good. How are you?
I am good. It's a nice morning. I'm sitting in front of an open window. It's a cool day, and I got a breeze blowing on my skin.
Me too. I have all the windows open.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but it's gonna rain.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
rained here yesterday, so it's gonna
oh, it
rain by
was
you today.
thundering here.
Yeah, and I got a cloudy day today, so it may rain again. I don't know.
Yeah, here too.
It's good because we haven't seen much rain at all, so it's nice. It's nice to get
Oh,
the
it's
rain.
been raining. We were like on a drought warning, and then it just really started raining for
Yeah,
days.
yeah, good, good. I mean, yesterday was the first sort of rainy day in my year, and it really kind of affected me. I don't get like I don't think I get seasonal affective disorder, but I did like yesterday. I was like, oh, today's a heavy day, and it was rainy, and today it's rainy and cloudy, but I don't feel so heavy today.
Yeah, you have to adjust to
Yeah, absolutely.
environmental, uh, natural energies.
That's right. That's right.
I do, at least. It affects me.
Oh man. All right, so
But,
let's see what we can do with some Dow Day chain. You got a number for me?
well, Dio picked 15. I was about to pick 16, and you read it.
And I did read it. Yeah, I could
And
read
then
16, and
Julie,
we can go over. We didn't go over 16. Um, we just read it.
okay.
All right, so there we are. So 16. 16 is one of like I really like 16 because it really does talk about um, it does talk about this idea of maturing and what it takes to mature, and I appreciate that. So being empty of mind is the utmost importance and is to be guarded with fervor. We have all seen states of action arise, and always beyond it returns stillness. When any state of action is complete, it naturally returns to stillness. This allows integration of what arose from action, which is the natural cycle of maturation. If stillness and integration cannot be achieved, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements. Yielding to stillness makes one impartial, and all particular things fall away. Then, when it comes time to die, one can be impartial to that as well.
as, as much as I talk on wisdom, I have to say, and sometimes I have to talk through my own thoughts
Yes.
in order, I have to vocalize in
Yeah,
order for me. I
we are
think a lot of,
we are we
it's
know.
human nature.
Well, it's your nature. I don't think every human has to do that, but I do think that
No.
you do.
Uh, but I also love just being silent.
Yeah,
And in that silence, really, there is no thought process. I mean,
that's
there's
right.
no like,
There's stillness.
in me at least, there's no rationalization, there's no judgments, there's nothing.
Right.
And but we do have to go through chaos and all this wild happenings around us and in us.
Well, we have to go through action. I mean, we don't have to judge that action because, I mean, wild is going to be different from one person to the next.
Yes.
And chaos is going to be defined differently from one person to the next. And so we don't have to utilize those sorts of things, but we do have to have action. Actions arise. And that's what we have here in the beginning, right? And first of all, we start with being empty of mind is of utmost importance and is to be guarded with fervor. Now, this is the stillness, right? This is the quiet that you like, right? Like this, when you become quiet and you just have none of that like thought, none of that, like it's just like, oh, I remember when I got in trouble when I was a kid, and I would zone out for a minute, and then I would just clear my mind, And after getting in trouble, my mom would be like, well, what are you thinking? And I would stop and I'd be like, there's nothing in my head. I couldn't say that because there had to be something there, because that's what she was asking me. And so I had to come up with something. But like, I recognized that my mind was still. It was empty. Being empty of mind is of the utmost importance. And I would do that, after getting yelled at or after like whatever, like I would just kind of like clear out. But then we have this line, we have all seen states of action as arise. And that's the thing, like action arises. It happens. It's inevitable. We live in the manifestation. Action is going to happen. This is your chaos. This is your wild movements. This is all your stuff. And always beyond it returns stillness. Now, that is in the natural case. There are times where we don't want that stillness and we fill. And that's what we talk about later when we say if stillness and integration cannot be achieved, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements. And that's, we have moved the world to a state in which constant action is possible and is probably probable, because we can fill our life with YouTube and then shut that down, and then open Instagram and then shut that down and post a picture and then check our like our likes, and then read something, and then go to a course, and then meditate, and then all of the things like
All
action.
those are actions. All
They're all
those are.
action. Right. Every single one of them is an action. And what it says here is if stillness and integration can't be achieved because you're not giving yourself stillness beyond the action, constant action will lead to anxiety and wild movements. And we ask the world today, why is everyone on anti-anxiety medication?
Yeah. I think in our society, we are so, our society dictates that we have to be in this movement, in this circle. Within circle, we gotta succeed and we gotta work and we gotta graduate
Well,
from the top schools.
we are, well, no matter, even if we don't have to graduate from the top schools, but we do have to go to
No,
school, right? We do,
yes,
and we'll go to the crappiest for-profit school that's not going to give us any help whatsoever, so that we can continue consuming. And that's the
consuming.
thing, that what we're talking about here is like so much of the action revolves around consumption. We have filled the world with action by filling it with stuff. Even this, are you consuming wisdom today? Are you consuming the app? Are you consuming Instagram? Are you consuming data? Are you consuming books? Are you consuming podcasts? Are you consuming entertainment? Are you consuming videos? Are you consuming food? Like the amount that we can consume? And this is when we talk about constant action leads to anxiety and wild movement. Like you're consuming, and yet never getting satiated.
Because I think we consume so much, and the more we consume, the better supposedly it's there, not in writing, but the better
Well,
we
no,
will
that is in writing.
be.
It's like it's better for you to have this. It's like, we make your life better, and that's the advertising, that's the marketing.
Yes,
And more is better, and more, and
yes,
that's the world of consumption, and stillness and integration. Look, if you're going to do an action like make dinner and eat, afterwards stillness will help you digest. If you're going to take a course, not jumping into the next course right away is probably a good idea, so that you can be still and integrate. When we're in school, we learn, it's one class after another, then a book, and then a class, and then you better read over the summer so you don't lose what you learned, and you better do all of
hmm
these things, and do and do and do. And all that is consuming. You're consuming lessons, you're consuming books, you're consuming data, you're consuming information, you're consuming. And that is the actions without stillness on the other side. You're not putting it down and saying, okay, I'm done for now. You're putting it down and saying, well, if I read another book, I can have 6 books read in this month. And now you're pushing towards an identity, you're pushing towards a goal, and you're pushing towards a desire to be someone or to say something or to embrace something. It's like, really, just be still. You are enough. And if you keep doing that, if you keep trying to, it's like even all of these people with their little step apps. How many steps did I take today? Oh, I got to take more steps. And you're
I know.
consuming that data and changing your life because of what you're consuming. And yet there is never going to be a point where it's enough until you're sick of it. And you're like, I don't want to
Or you
live.
get sick. You
Right. Or
literally
you
get
get
sick.
sick. Yeah. Or you literally get sick. Like, you can get sick of it and say, I don't want to be controlled by my app. Well, the app was never controlling you. You were allowing yourself to be controlled by it. That's a different story. Now be still. And then you give up everything. And then there's stillness to a degree that you're not comfortable with either. And then you go back. And that's the thing. It's like, the first verse that I read today was talking about like the idea that Tao knows, and everything that you do is engaged with Tao. And Tao, like, even if you feel confused, that's Tao. Tao is helping you be confused right now because it knows what you need. You need to be confused so that you can be still and move to the next place. It's all there for us.
Ancient wisdom.
Ancient wisdom. Yeah, that's how 15 started. Ancient Tao. And now 16. We move that wisdom into something tangible. Stillness and integration. Integrate what you have learned rather than just going to learn more stuff. Let it be a part of you.
So by you saying this, my dear, have an incredible day. Be still.
I am going to be. Thank you so much, my
Okay.
love. You have a wonderful
Thank
day as
you.
well.
You too, my dear.
Ciao. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining me once again. If you benefit from listening to Tao of the Day, please consider giving a tip over at Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. And I am Martin John, the recovery mentor. I talk about Tao, the Tao Te Ching. I used to talk about recovery. I still do on the odd occasion. But this is the Tao. And thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.